So in today's episode of Tell Us Something We Knew All Along, RFK Jr. now says that there's not enough evidence to say that Tylenol causes autism. And we're all like, yeah, we knew that the minute that you said it. But when you say those types of things and you put it out into the world, you do the damage, and there's no going back and undoing that damage. That's why that RFK Jr. is one of the most reckless and dangerous people to ever be in a position of power like this, because it is the type of people who he is talking to and the type of people who believes every word he says is gospel that he empowers, that makes it so hard for us to repair and rebuild all the damage and all the stuff that he tears down. So he said that, he put it out into the world, and there are people who will latch onto it and believe it to the end of the world no matter how much he tries to walk it back, because that's how the conspiracy theory mindset works. Once you get locked into a conspiracy theory, then you have an excuse for every single thing that happens next, and you always have a way of making the story fit the way you want. So to anyone who believed that Tylenol caused autism and believed him when he said it, well, now that he's saying, no, actually it doesn't, well, they're still going to believe it, because now they're going to believe that RFK Jr. is being forced to say that. They're telling him they see it really does cause it, but he can't say that, so now he has to lie. Look at Alex Jones. I mean, Alex Jones sat and defamed the parents of kids who lost their lives in school. He sat and defamed those people. Had to cough up a whole bunch of money over it too. But then he just went on his show and said, well, I had to say it. I had to, in order to be able to continue to do what I do. So they've always got an out, and the level of damage that they do is something that you cannot repair. But it all goes back to the way that this MAGA movement really got started. Donald Trump went out there and he preyed upon weak people, and he gave them a bunch of empty promises. He gave them simple answers to very hard and complex issues. Everything was just the immigrants' fault. Everything was a gay or trans person's fault. Everything was a black person's fault, or it was woke, or it was DEI. In MAGA's world, there is no middle ground, okay? There's no gray area. They don't look at it that way. They look for someone to tell them which side of an issue to get on and what to say, and then they repeat it. So it doesn't matter what it is. It starts with, we'll build the wall. That's all they say. Now, you could point out that, hey, people can get around a wall. I mean, a wall ain't really going to do jack shit. You can point that out, but they're just going to keep repeating the lie. Well, just build a wall. Mexico will pay for it. Build a wall. Mexico will pay for it. They'll sit and say it over and over and over and over again, and then when one day they wake up and realize, hey, Mexico ain't going to pay for that, they'll just shift gears to, well, what about trans and sports? So they've always got a hoop that they're going to jump through, and since there's no gray area, they always have to land on one side or the other. So MAGA realizes, the powers that be in MAGA, the Trumps and his administration, realizes that all we have to do is tell these people something, and if we just give them a simple answer to a very complex, difficult subject, if we just give them Tylenol caused it, they'll go out there and repeat it, and then we can continue to steamroll over them and take away everything they ever worked for. The only people that are being owned today, MAGA's not owning the libs. As a matter of fact, they've never owned us for a split second. What happened was they got owned lock, stock, and barrel by Donald Trump and this crooked regime. They have been owned, and we watch them get owned every day, and it's so funny to me watching them be owned by Donald Trump and then flipping it to, we owned you, buddy, we got you. It's like, okay, Mexico didn't pay for the wall. Yeah, and you're pointing it out. We got you, man. He got you all worked up thinking he's going to build a wall, didn't he? We got you. America first. Woo. Oh, America first? Yeah, well, he's sending $40 billion to Argentina. Oh, well, see, the libs are mad at him for doing that. We won. We got him, by God. We own the libs. And they always have a way of twisting it every single time, no matter what happens. I literally seen a dude. I saw this guy, I think it was YouTube or TikTok, but this guy was talking, and he actually said this out loud in 2025. Don't remember his name, ain't seen him since, and don't care if I ever see him again, but he said, I really didn't think I was anti-Semitic at all. I didn't think I was. And then the liberals started calling me that, and they just kept calling me that. And finally, one day I woke up and I said, you know what, maybe I am. They think that's an own. They think that's a burn. They think that's a gotcha moment. They think they won it. They didn't win shit. Donald Trump comes out and says, we won the climate change hoax. You're like, what? How do you win a climate change hoax? First of all, climate change is not a hoax. How did you win that one exactly, Donnie? Oh, well, Bill Gates said that it probably won't lead to our demise. Well, that don't mean jack shit. That doesn't mean anything. Bill Gates saying that means absolutely nothing. It's not evidence of anything. It doesn't prove that climate change is a hoax just because he says that, hey, maybe it won't lead to our demise. But they're the type of people who they just need a side to get on real quick, and they need to feel validated like they won something. So it's like, hey, climate change is a hoax, and they say that forever and ever and ever. And then Bill Gates says, well, it might not lead to our demise, and they flex and think that's a win, like they scored something. They didn't score anything. They didn't win anything. Donald Trump just won one over on them and just sits back and laughs at them. I would love to be a fly on the wall of that plane that he sits on now as he's sitting around talking to all of his rich elitist buddies. I would love to be a fly on the wall when the cameras really ain't rolling and the microphones really ain't on, which I'm sure there's a microphone in that thing somewhere if I'm being honest, but I would love to hear what he says about the gullible people who follows everything that he says. I did see Dave Chappelle one time talk about partying with him years ago, and he talked about how that he talked down about people like us, and I'm absolutely sure that he does. He can't relate to us in any way, but what he can do is give people simple answers, and then he empowers people like RFK Jr. to turn around and give simple, ridiculous answers that people will then turn and think it's the gospel. And the minute that I heard RFK Jr. even speak about autism, my heart immediately went out to the autism community because I realized the damage that he was about to do. They sowed so much distrust in science during the pandemic, and they sowed so much distrust in medicine during the pandemic. And this entire time, they've been sowing distrust in the politicians and in the government and in the way that we conduct ourselves in America. They have absolutely sown a distrust in all of that. And the saddest part to me is while they sow the seeds of distrust to the American people, they put people like RFK Jr. in power who has absolutely no experience in what he's saying at all. But they've sown so much distrust that people will look to him for the answers because they don't trust the people who did dedicate their lives to science and did dedicate their lives to medicine and did dedicate their lives to understanding how to put the pieces of the autism puzzle together. They'll listen to RFK Jr. read a study that he found on the internet, and again, they think that if he says it, then that means that it's true. And if he walks it back, well, they must have made him walk it back. So you can never win with this. And the minute I heard him talking about autism and the minute he made that, ridiculous remark about Tylenol, I just pictured everyone I know that has an autistic child being confronted by some redneck douchebag that walks up and says, hey, did you take Tylenol while you was pregnant? That's what done it. And they'll never hear this part, by the way. They'll never hear that RFK Jr. admitted that, that I was lying. I was full of shit. They'll never hear that. And if you tell them that he said it and they go listen to him say it, they still won't believe it. Because all they ever wanted was just something to make them feel better for the moment. They just wanted a quick fix. That's all MAGA's ever been about. Just give us a quick fix. Give us a quick answer. Just give us somebody to hate. Give us somebody to blame. Give us somebody to punch down to. That's all they've ever wanted. That's all they've ever been about. And punching down at people is one of the easiest things you can do. So anybody out there punching down at people, that's the easiest thing you can do. It's much harder to sit down and reach and pick people up and lift people up and stand up for everybody. And really that shouldn't be hard. That's one of those things that shouldn't be. But the easiest thing you could ever do is just be a cold-hearted asshole. That's easy. And here I go making my wrestling analogies, but I've heard them talk for years about how that, it's easy to go out there and get the crowd to boo you. It's kind of hard though to get people to relate to you and get people to start cheering you on. These days, though, in MAGA's world, it's so flipped and backwards now that it's hard to tell who the face is and who the heel is anymore, because they've just got everything so distorted. But RFK Jr. came out and he made that claim. Now, will mainstream media hold his feet to the fire? Will mainstream media demand that he really walk this back and really drive this point home? No, he won't be held accountable by anybody. Mainstream media will just coddle the guy and pamper the guy. They're all the biggest babies and been pampered more than anybody ever. There's never been a more pampered group of politicians than Donald Trump and his radical regime. And there's never been a more pampered group of individuals than the people who looks up to it and believes in it. And it's one of those things where I sit when I'm making the videos and I think about the things I say I do. And I sometimes think back on certain things I say and I think, man, should I have really said that? And then I say to myself, yeah, you should have. You know, one day, it's a couple of days ago, I don't remember which video it was, but I said, we're dealing with the stupidest people on the planet. I went inside and there was a part of me that was like, dang, you know, I kind of feel bad I said that. Maybe I shouldn't have said they were the stupidest people on the planet. And then I saw a headline, RFK Jr. says there's not enough evidence to show that Tylenol causes autism. And I went, yeah, don't feel bad, Brando. Do not feel bad.